Welcome to It's a Family Affair, Wednesday's Inspiration. I am Journeyman Bell, and today we are going to talk about Let God Lead. In the book of Psalms 23, verses 2 and 3, it says that He maketh me to lie down beside green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for His name's sake. Understanding this, that when we are letting God lead, we are simply saying, God, I am trusting you to get me to the right place, to meet the right people for the right situation so that my circumstances can be right before you. Understanding this, that letting God lead is simply trusting Him in areas that we may not always feel comfortable with. A lot of times, if I can be really honest, a lot of times where God leads us are a lot of places of comfort to bring us out of our uncomfortable. Because a lot of times we find comfort in our uncomfortable. Isn't that something? That we are more comfortable in the place that God sees as uncomfortable for us, for where we need to go. Because one thing about us as people is we get complacent, we get stagnant, we become dormant in our lives. And God wants us to be able to be in a place where we're active before Him, where we're willing to trust Him. And whenever we start getting into a place of complacency, then that means that we are starting to rely more on ourselves other than what God is doing for us. There is a difference between complacency and contentment. And a lot of times we get that confused because what we want to do is okay. But what God wants us to do for Him, it feels uncomfortable. But when we come down to making real serious decisions in our lives, we need Him to lead us. And we need Him in our raising of our kids. We need Him in our abilities to operate on a daily, even in things of how we handle our money and how we handle our finances. We want Him to lead us properly when we feel like we don't have it under control. It's easier to trust God when you got $100,000. Or not to trust God at $100,000 as it is to $5. If I had $5 and I've got a whole nother month to go, oh Lord, I'm going to be in prayer a lot. Lord, I'm going to really be in prayer. But isn't that something how when we have our abundance of what we need, that our less ability to let God lead begin to take its course and take its place? It's interesting how when we find our place of complacency and comfort, that God says that's uncomfortable there, because now you are trusting completely on yourself and not me. God wants us to trust Him, but we have to be willing to let Him lead us. The GPS system is designed to bring us into a place. As I said, God leads us beside the still waters, and He's restoring our soul. He's leading our lives in the path of righteousness for His name's sake. When you come into God, you are saying, God, I am one to represent you, but I am going to let you lead the representation through me. And when you start to let that GPS in God work as your normal GPS, it does things to get you to a destination. Your GPS is designed to get you to a destined place. And if you take a wrong turn, it'll either reroute you or it'll tell you to go back to your original place that you first started in. And that's how God is too. He's always rerouting us back into a place of righteousness, back to the still waters, back to restoring our soul. He's always leading us to the places that will lead us to a place that is better than where we are. That's something how God, He thought so much of us. He knows the plans that He thought for us, as it says in Jeremiah, to think towards us in the direction that we need to go in. He knows the ways that we should go already. He knows our life and He knows our path. He knows our direction. We just have to be willing to follow the leader. That's a simple thing that we used to do as kids, is letting the leader lead, and all we have to do is follow what the leader says. The more we do that, the easier our lives become in the end. Yo, that's Wednesday's inspiration on the day. Will you let God lead your life, or will you continue to walk the path that you chose and not the one He chose for you? Have an awesome day. Be blessed.